This is Peyton Stilling back with another episode of The Power of Storytelling. And today we have Laurel Salazar. Laurel graduated from UNT with a degree in International Studies. She has since gone on to be a social media manager, graphic designer, content creator, writer, and marketing manager. You do lots of things. Thank you so much for being on today.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So to get all of this started, I would love to go back to the very beginning, kind of give our listeners some insight on what your life was like growing up, your childhood.
So I would say as a kid, I was always very creative. I loved the arts. I loved drawing, taking art classes, everything like that. So I think just growing up, I never, thought about what I wanted to do as a kid, but I think as I got older, I knew I needed to be creative. That's what I truly enjoy is making things. So that kind of influenced what I chose in terms of careers and what I do now, also for fun on the side. So like hobbies and things like that.
Yeah. And what sorts of things were you involved in school?
So I actually took private art lessons from our art teacher. It was after school. So I'd go back to her classroom at the end of the day. My mom was a teacher, so I was already hanging out, at the school after school anyway. So I would go to her class and then she would just teach me extra things that were kind of advanced compared to what other people were doing.
When you say art, like drawing, painting?
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything. And she was kind of teaching me just stuff that maybe I would have been learning in middle school or high school. So that was really cool. I also did a bunch of like music classes too. So I took piano and guitar for a little bit. So I was always doing creative stuff
Very
as a
cool.
kid.
Yeah. And did you carry out like art into high school and stuff? Did you do like art competitions and that?
I did. I took AP art in high school, and I had a really amazing teacher who kind of pushed me, and I entered my stuff into this scholarship contest, and I ended up winning like a little art scholarship for college that helped me get a computer. So yeah, that was really cool.
So did you know you wanted to go to college? Did you know what you wanted to go to college for?
Um, I think I always knew that that was going to be the path that I would take. I'm privileged enough to come from a household where both my parents attended college. Um, I never really knew though what I wanted to do specifically. So kind of picking a major at the beginning was difficult. I had always had an interest in like history, politics, social justice issues. So that's kind of what led me to picking my major.
Are your parents creative people?
Yeah, I would say they are. My mom, when she was younger, she played a bunch of instruments. She did dance. She was also really athletic. She played tennis, and my dad was the same way, just like a natural athlete and creative person. So yeah, I would say for sure.
Super cool. And how did you pick which college you ended up going to?
So I had just heard good things about UNT. A really good friend of mine also was going there, so I kind of wanted to go, with her too. But
Dallas area, or
I'm sorry.
you grew up in the Dallas area? Like,
I grew up in Arlington, Texas. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it was like a good distance from home, where like if I wanted to go home and see my parents, I could. But there was also um, that distance. And I loved how creative of a school UNT is, like lots of live music all the time,
Yeah.
lots of really interesting creative people. Like I had a really cool college experience that I think you can't really find at a lot of schools, especially in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like UT Austin has great culture, but like that's just like being in Austin. I feel like
Yeah, exactly.
that's cool that you had such a great experience at UNT and you the major that you picked, is that the major you graduated with, or is that?
Yes. So I actually started out as a graphic design major. And funny enough, I was late to my portfolio review. And so, of course, I'm not going to get put to the next round of reviews or whatever. They have a really intense process for their program. Um, but anyway, so I showed up late to that, which was my fault. But that kind of, I didn't want to have to retake all those classes. They were a bunch of like art classes and, stuff that I just didn't want to pay for to do it again. So I ended up changing my major. But, I kind of taught myself a lot of programs and stuff while I was doing my degree. Like I learned Photoshop, I learned a lot of basic graphic design principles and stuff just on my own using tutorials and YouTube. And so I was kind of teaching myself as I went.
Yeah, I feel like YouTube is such a great tool for,
Mm-hmm.
you can learn so many things. Like
Exactly.
I learned how to play guitar mainly.
Yeah, I would do the same thing as a kid.
Yeah. In Photoshop, I mean, I'm not the best at Photoshop, but like you watch a couple YouTube videos and
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of get the hang of it. So that's cool. So you switched degrees, global studies, graduated with that. Did you know that you wanted to, was there like a dream job when you graduated?
Well, so I didn't really know, where I was going to work when I graduated. I figured it would probably be at a nonprofit. Um, I did an internship for a refugee resettlement agency. And for that job, I kind of did a lot of marketing work. So I did graphic design, running their social media, writing stories about their clients. So that's kind of what started me on just doing marketing work in general, which is not my degree, but I learned a lot during that internship. And then I actually met one of their staff who was running an Americorps program for them.
Okay.
So that next year, I did an Americorps program with the same agency, Refugee Services of Texas, and I did that for a year. And if people don't know what Americorps is, it's basically like the Peace Corps, but in the U.S. So you'll do a project for a year or so at a nonprofit or different agencies, and you're working for very, very little money while you do it. But you're kind of building up these programs for them so that eventually when they do have more funding, they can hire people on to run those programs. So that's kind of what I did.
So, and you loved it, or you were?
Yeah. I mean, they're a great agency. They help clients get resettled here. I got to do a couple of airport pickups, which is when you go to the airport and you pick up clients that are coming from a refugee camp, living there for years, and it's their first time in the country, and you get to take them to their brand new apartment. It's just an amazing experience. So yeah, it was a really rewarding job for sure.
Yeah. So how long did you stay at that job for?
So my Americorps year of service ended, and then I was applying for other jobs, and I actually, I think I went with a couple recruiting agencies that focus on creative jobs, so like marketing, graphic design, and then they would connect me with companies. And so they connected me with a company called Menza. So they're this is very random if you've never heard of it, but so they are the world's oldest high IQ society. So it's kind of like a social club for really intelligent people, and they needed a marketing person. So I took a position with them to do marketing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So like, what exactly do you do as a marketing manager?
So in my current role, I do a bunch of different things. I kind of update their website. My first big project was kind of doing a revamp of my company's website. So I worked on that for a couple months. And I also do like client stories, um, doing social for LinkedIn, working on collateral, just a bunch of different things, really.
What what kind of software or like skills do you think that are important to have as a social media manager, marketing manager, all that stuff?
Um, I think, like for me, at least the way I see it, as how the world's going, there's a lot more of an emphasis now on just getting skills versus picking a specific degree or even going to college sometimes. So, there's a lot that you can teach yourself on your own. There's certifications you can get. I think before I took my previous job, I got a couple of Google certifications that were free. That helped me get that job. Yeah, just really taking the initiative to keep learning. And, a lot of people think that, when college ends, I'm done with learning. But when you enter into the workforce or whatever, you have to learn new things all the time. Like it never really ends.
Yeah.
But just getting those digital skills is so important.
Do you think that your, I know your degree is so different than
Yeah.
currently, but do you think that it helped you, or do you think you could have done without it?
um, it's tricky because like what I studied like fundamentally shaped my identity. And I know a lot of people can't say that about if you get a business degree, like it's probably not going to shape your identity. Maybe it does. But for me, it really shaped who I am as a person. Just a lot of my professors had a really profound impact on my life. A lot of them had done work overseas. So just that perspective, I think it really shaped who I am. But I don't know if I necessarily needed that degree. There's skills that I learned that were valuable. Time management and organization, those things that you learn in college, those
Yeah.
are valuable for work. But a lot of what I do now, those are things I taught myself. Yeah, so it's tricky. College might not be the right choice for everybody, but it is a good experience.
And I think to just exceed in, or to move forward in any career path, you have to be able to adapt and learn.
Yeah.
And like what you said, just because you graduate and get a degree, like
Mm-hmm.
the learning never really stops.
No. Mm-hmm.
You just stop having 8 a.m. classes, but
Exactly. Yeah, you go from 8 a.m. to 9 in the office, or I guess for me, I'm fortunate that I'm at home. So
yeah. Tell us about, like, because you work from home. I know some people hate it, some people love it. What's your stance on it?
um yeah, so at my previous role, I was working at a different job than I am now, and COVID hit and everything got crazy.
Yeah.
And we had to shift to working at home. So for me personally, I know people that don't have the kind of like introverted personality type, they like that interaction in work. But for me, I like the quiet. Like I like being able to focus on what I'm doing. And I do a lot of writing. So having that quiet at home, I just feel like it helps me focus.
Yeah.
um, and just it gives me more independence with my week. I'm not glued to an office. If I need to go run an errand, I can do that. I don't have to the stress of like commuting anymore, which is huge. So yeah, I think I really like it.
So I I've obviously been following all of your stuff. You know, you do all sorts of fashion, content creation. Um, how did you get into that, and how is that kind of, how do you balance both? Because you're really consistent with all the stuff that you
I
post.
would try my best. um, so in in college, this was like, so, for people listening, I am a millennial. But I was in college from 2012 to 2016, and that was kind of like the heyday of fashion blogging, like very different from Instagram influencer stuff now. But I had always followed a lot of fashion blogs in high school. I was like, you know what? I just need to go for it and start posting. And I love creating outfits. I love styling. I just need to start sharing them with people. Like, who cares what people think?
Yeah.
And Instagram was fairly new then. It wasn't what it is now. Like, it's totally evolved now. But it was different. So I started a little like page, and I shared outfits, and I would write blog posts like on a terrible like WordPress blog. And yeah, I just started doing that. And then there was a ton of creative people at UNT. So I linked up with a lot of photographers, and I would style shoots using like clothes I had thrifted. And I didn't have a lot of money in college, so it was a lot of like using stuff from my own closet and thrifting things.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. UNT was such a creative atmosphere. There was a lot of really interesting people. So that's kind of what got me started on doing that sort of thing.
And how do you balance both now? 'Cause you're still doing that.
Yeah. So I think for me, I have to stay super organized just with my current job. I've got a lot going on during the week, so I have to use my time wisely. But just staying organized and staying consistent. And if I need to like work on creating a bunch of stuff over the weekend, so I can kind of spread that stuff out, whether it's for like a brand or different things like that, my own personal outfit stuff, which I enjoy doing. So it's a little give and take. Sometimes I have to take a break because it's like, I need actual time off where I'm not worried about something like responding to brand emails or working for work stuff that I didn't get done during the week because I was trying to do something else. So it's a little like give and take.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I think that's interesting though. Do you feel like all of your creativity that you have, you get to express in your job?
So, for me, so I do marketing for a Salesforce consulting company. So it's not necessarily like a creative field, but in marketing, I get to be creative, like by writing, telling stories and doing that sort of thing, writing social media posts and stuff. So that's the more creative side of it. I
Yeah.
don't really see myself as ever doing like consulting itself. It's a totally different thing. So there's a little bit of creativity that goes into it, but that's why I like having like these other outlets outside of work where I can be creative.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's a day in your life? Like what does, for people that are listening that are like, what exactly does a day in the life of a marketing manager look like?
Okay. So for me specifically, because like I said, I work for Salesforce Consulting. So I do, I have a lot of meetings throughout the day. I wake up and we do a meeting in the morning where we kind of regroup on all of our client projects. And for people that are listening that aren't like familiar with Salesforce and consulting, so basically as consultants, we set up businesses Salesforce orgs for them. And, that's like their customer relationship management systems, their sales systems, their marketing systems. We set it all up for them. So we work with like clients from all different industries. So yeah, I usually have a meeting in the morning. I'll have a couple meetings throughout the day, and I'll do interviews throughout the day with different consultants about the projects they're working on to be able to share that content.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of like, different things throughout the day, which is nice.
Yeah. And you get to work from home. I feel like
Yeah, that's the best part.
smart. You can just like wear a blazer and sweatpants,
Exactly.
It's the best of both worlds.
Yes.
Okay, so my last question for you is, what advice do you have to give to our listeners who are wanting to pursue a career in content creation, social media managing, marketing manager, all that sort of creative field?
I would just say to go for it and just start doing it. Because if you don't start, like you're never going to do it. Like you can talk yourself out of doing something a million times and you're just never going to do it. So you just have to push yourself and really, at least for, content creation or influencing or whatever you want to call it, just go for it. Nobody cares, as much as you think they do. If you enjoy it, you should do it. um, yeah, and for marketing specifically, I would say like your best resources online, like just learn as much as you can. you know there's so many great free resources, and like I said earlier, certifications you can get that'll help you land jobs.
Mhm.
So just do your research and know, and don't, as a woman, don't be afraid to like advocate for yourself, and advocate for more money always. Just don't be afraid to do that. That's my biggest, point of advice that I wish I had told myself when I was younger. But just be an advocate for yourself if you can.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on today.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, this is just like, thank you for sharing everything. And hopefully someone hears this and is inspired by you. That's the goal. So, well, that's a wrap. Thank you so much.